Get your cocktails about the game script. A huge victory. We get on these streams and we put our heads together. Get your balls, put them on the table. We are live. Live, we are. You have found it. You are at the right place if you're looking to find about these last spots to go out there and cook them books. You made it to last call. Shout out to Pub Sports Radio and shout out to this chat. 40 deep, already in here, ready to rock and roll. And we're just continuing to grow, man. It's been a lot of fun the last couple of weeks here. We're starting week number 5. It's hard to believe it's that quick already, but look, man, when you're stacking and cashing, you got to keep it rolling, and keep it rolling. We're going to do tonight. So appreciate everybody dropping in here early and ready to get after it here. I see our guy, Jared Bush, first guy in the chat tonight, man. What up, Jared Bush? Good to see you again, dude. Haven't been around some of that horse racing, so I missed some of your looks here, but I see you got some for us tonight. Says, I got the Bruins versus the Lightning under 6.5. Got the under in Edmonton, Florida under 6.5 goals tonight as well. That looks like a parlay at plus 305. That's a good look for us right off the hop there. That's going to be good action. That's going to give us a good luck spot here. Starting off the night with a plus money card. Love it, my guy. Loopy. Let's go. The whole gang is filing in, you guys. 6 o'clock. Last call. You know the deal. Cody Norton, welcome to the spot. Let's count this paper. Big Scott 510. He's got a same game parlay for us. He went Chiefs Eagles tonight. He's got the AJ Brown over 84.5 receiving yards. Brown anytime touchdown. And under 46, I think is the total at plus 575. I like the numbers, my guy. And I like that A.J. Brown matchup. We know that they run a lot of man coverage out there for them Kansas City Chiefs. And that's where A.J. Brown excels. So good job on that look here. Thank you for sharing off the hop. Appreciate everybody that could do this that favor and drop your action in the chat. We'll talk about it. Want to make sure we highlight everybody that takes the time to put it out there for us. There's our guy, Jay Peasy. Purdue, these guys are frauds. Yeah, that was a disappointing first half, to say the least. But we'll roll on. We'll move forward. Jared Bush says Canucks most definitely and the L.A. Kings. Brent Cook, everybody on the Knicks, give me the T-Wolves, my guy. We're going to talk about that game tonight. Yeah, at home they've been something to contend with out there. Let's see what else we got out here. We got Ron Lofton in the house. Here's Nunya. And there's Justin with the stacks play of the day. Look at this. Eagles money line plus 125. My guy. Let's go. There we go. My Italian descent. Italy qualifies today, Euro 2024. I'm not of Italian descent, but I do love me some Italian European action. So in just about all facets that you could take and mean that type of a saying. So let's go. Jared Bush, appreciate it, man. Mr. Vape likes the Kings tonight. We'll talk about that. Bet the -1. Cash Kennesaw State today. Nunya plus 110 out there. Busy day at work. Taking the action. 38-15 NCAA on Virginia tonight. I like that Virginia look as well here. I've only got one college basketball look for you guys here tonight, but we have everything in play going on. And this is going to be a fun week here. We got an opportunity this week to kind of play a little different pace. You know, we've got tons of live sports, tons of live streams. We got afternoon action for college basketball. We've got college football getting down to the nitty gritty. Can you believe we're almost done in time for bowl season and college football? We've got the NFL popping games all over the place. We got a Monday game. We got 3 Thursday games. I'll be hosting the Friday stream for the first ever NFL Black Friday game between the Dolphins and the Jets at 3 p.m. And then because of this interesting schedule and some of the sports being rotated around, we'll only have last call for 3 days this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Doesn't mean you're not going to get plays. We're going to talk about that, especially Friday with this show on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a great time to talk about the entire card and the entire night of action. So hopefully I'll see all you guys back there on Friday. And then, of course, we get into the weekend. It's a Thanksgiving weekend in the stateside, and looking forward to my favorite holiday. You know, it's like Christmas without having to go through all that gift process. So, love it. Certainly the season starts to turn, and it becomes hockey season. It's basketball season. We now have a couple weeks of data behind us as well. And that makes it a lot of fun because now we're going to start to be able to make some educated decisions around where we want to put that money and how we're going to stack it up. And so far, so good. We'll take a recap and start this thing off. Then we're going to jump into the NFL. We'll talk about this game here with the Eagles and Chiefs. Then we'll jump into the NBA. NHL will bring us into college basketball, and we'll put a bow on the show and get you guys ready for the Monday night live stream. Shout out to our guy, Jimmy the Bag. I know he sent out a tweet there a little bit back. 14-2 on live bets for that guy himself. And I know the entire cast and crew, all Pub Sports Radio, has been finding a way to get those live plays out there. So shout out to him and shout out to everybody that comes out and contributes and helps put our heads together to find those winners. Let's see what we got here now. We got giving everybody enough time to come in here. I know you guys are getting out of work on the East Coast, and hey, maybe you're taking a little break out there on the West Coast, and you're going to jump in and listen to the last call. I'll make it worth your while here tonight. We'll cover these plays. You guys know the deal. We start off first and foremost with a recap of the last day's action. In this case, it was Friday, and I'm going to shout out our guy LJ from H-Town. I posted it out there on Twitter or X, on Saturday morning. But our man had a big day for us in his show debut. He went 10-0 on the prop side of the house, 1-4, I believe, on his side action. That's going to give our man an 11-4 start, by far the best start of any of the guests that we've had on last call. I know he said Friday's work for him, so we're going to see if we can bring him back and help us tackle that NBA card. It was glorious, man. It was like prop after prop after prop. And, as I'm looking at it, the highest action he had on a prop looks like it was minus 137, couple minus 120s. And then everything else was right in that minus 110 to plus 110 type of range out there. So nothing egregious in terms of the odds being laid, but again, found a way to get that cash. And, I talked about this before as well. I'm going to try a little bit of a different tactic in the NBA now. I'm going to try to take some of these money lines, and I'm going to try to parlay them together with some of the props that I like out there, because now we are starting to see, again, that maturity of the data, which gives us more confidence as we start to evaluate these players, their averages, their potentials, the teams they're matched up against, and all the rest. So, excuse me, get excited. Chokes me up just thinking about all this money we can make this week here. And our guy LJ had a great weekend, so I appreciate that for the Friday show. Man, that guy came ready to rock. As far as my sides were concerned here, we had a 7-5 day. But net, we ended up about 2.5 units up. So, 7-5 brings the show to 135 and 109, 242 plays, plus 23 units right now. I guess see where it went really bad here for us, right? The football spot there with Colorado did not get the job done. Florida Panthers laying the minus 1.5. What a bunch of, we were up 2-0 that entire game. They couldn't find that next spot. And that was a game that we're going to talk about that trend tonight as well, because it is active, it is alive, and a big spot that we'll talk about for the NHL. We've had a tremendous NHL season, as you guys know. I think I sent it out to Dabby Cab. I want to say the NHL numbers in the month of November are 38-7 on last call. So I'm going to break all that down for us here when we get some time with this break coming up to recap it by sport and keep you guys aware of where we're hot, where we're not, where we need to get better and focus in and drill down. So we'll cover that as we get there. The Wake Forest under didn't cover. The Florida Gulf Coast game, bunch of bums. And then St. Mary's. Going to have to reassess my feelings on St. Mary's because they just had a struggling weekend as well. Now, maybe they'll get it together when they get back into conference play. We know that conference is really led by Gonzaga, and then there's St. Mary's and everybody else. So, I wouldn't even say it's a 1A, 1B situation. It's really 1 and then, maybe 2A and then everybody else. So we'll have to evaluate that as we move forward. The NBA, though, is really positive for us here, and things are starting to heat up. So in addition to LJ's looks, I cashed that Cavs first quarter, cashed the Cavs first half. We cashed that Sixers spot. Imagine fading them Sixers. Come on, baby. That's one of the hottest teams in the NBA. Boston first half got it done. Interesting about that Boston first half, because we talked about it on the lean side of things and said, I don't know about the full game, but I think they come out strong and get that done, and they certainly did in that international matchup. The Lakers got a little sleepy at the end, and it got tight. They ended up winning outright, which led us to the parlay, right? We cashed that 3-leg parlay. We had the Celtics money line, the Kings money line, and the Suns money line at plus 148. We got the Rockets plus 7.5. They were leading that entire game. I thought they were going to get that money line for us as well. And Sons at Guns didn't get there. But last but not least, the Gordon 8+ rebounds was a plus 120 spot. I got it at plus 140, but we had to go with the show numbers at plus 120. All in all, though, a solid, productive day. Another winning week for last call. And we're going to put that behind us now because we need to move forward. We have to dust it off. We got to get tight and right with this week. And speaking of which, shout out to my guy T out there on them 1s and 2s. getting it all tightened up for us. We got to get this big card tackled down, and he helps break it down to give you guys, the assessment here. Gives you the visual breakdowns and keeps the screens rolling, keeps us on the tracks as I go out there and start to digress and sidetrack on some of these things. So appreciate him being there as well as always. And I know he moved some things around to be here on Friday. So not forgotten the sacrifices that the team makes to come together and give you guys these wins. All right. Shout out to, again, one last spot for our guy T. I know he finished up some extra schooling this past week. So guy was a busy man, not just keeping it right for the show, but doing a lot of things out there to elevate himself personally, moving his station forward in life. And that's an important thing, not to just get lost in the day-to-day grind, but have a bigger prize that he's pursuing. And shout out to him and congratulations for wrapping up that class and that program that you just got through here. So let's move forward, you guys. Here we see Ramon Scott. Hung out with Ramon Scott last night on the live stream. Had a lot of fun breaking down that game last night. And, it was an interesting spot there. The under, of course, prime time comes through. But interesting spot depending on how you played. I know some guys on the money line, some guys on the point spread. There's Todd says, hope you followed Razor today. Jay Peasy, I'm guessing this guy doesn't know the pimp slap. Yeah, baby. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Ron Lofton, that Denver 2-point attempt was sweaty. It sure was. Jesse Shuley, I'm guessing this guy's betting the Eagles tonight, Jesse. I am going to bet the Eagles. We'll talk about that. And that's just a straight homer pick, but I think it's crazy. We talked about this before, you guys. I'll break it down again. There's 3 buckets you got to look at here. And if you're using the Patrick Mahomes is so great bucket, you are living in the past. That is a lagging indicator. That is not a leading indicator. We want to be on the leading and interim side of that bucket of 3. You break it down into thirds, and measuring what a guy's performance has been historically is a lagging indicator. Can't do anything to affect your bankroll by betting in those lagging spots. We'll talk a little bit more about those leading and interim indicators as we move forward. It's a big business term, that certainly applies, I think, to a lot of trends in the NFL, not just the NFL, but all of sports. And we'll keep going here. Jimmy Gomez says NHL best bets. He's got Boston money line, Boston first period, Kings money line, and the Canucks -1.5. And Nunez says, my NBA tactic has always been live bet, my favorite. If they go down early or parlay 1 or 2 faves, up -300 with some NCAA basketball or football money lines. I got it. I like it. I like that play. Important to have a strategy when it comes to live bet. And I know that's why we found a lot of success in some of these live streams out there too. So, we got to have that strategy. We got to stick to it. We got to move forward and, again, evaluate the strategy and determine where we need to make some tinkers and some adjustments and some tweaks out there. Trap God, what up, Trap God? Thanks for coming in here. Appreciate it, Jesse Shuley. Make sure you hit the like button. As far as everybody out there, guys, do me the favor, hit the like button for us. And, that's going to help us promote the brand, grow the show, give us more looks and recognition for the crew here. But we're already 100+ deep, and I want to get this thing moving. So let's get into the picks tonight. Jay Peasy says, I was just going to say, Mike is not a homer better. You damn homer better. Yeah, listen, you know what? We could talk about this game. We will talk about this game. In fact, it's the first game on the hop, so we might as well break it right down and move right into this thing here tonight. And look, I talked about this earlier today, right? I'm one of those guys. Look. At the end of the day, robbery and the postseason last year, if you watched that Super Bowl and thought the Chiefs earned that victory, then you have another thing coming. And for me, in this spot here, there was a huge pass interference call that was very marginal at best. Otherwise, the Eagles were toe-to-toe in this game. And, in this case here, I think this is certainly a revenge spot. We've got 53% of the bets and 48% of the cash on the Philadelphia Eagles. The line started at +3. And we're seeing 2.5s. Very similar to last night. Very similar to that Minnesota game last night where the line opened at 3 and we're down to 2.5s. There we go. I was just going to say, thanks, T. Thanks for getting that up and rolling for us. So you guys know the deal here. Sport by sport, you'll see on the right-hand side the agenda, if you will, of what we're covering and where we're at in terms of that coverage. Over the top, you'll see the bets, and we added the prop shop at the end of this thing to cover some player props. Tonight, I definitely had a lot of player props, not just in this Eagles game, but quite a few across the board that I wanted to get into. So, looking forward to covering that as well. And let's talk about this Eagles game here now. Again, we just talked about the cash flow. As far as the total is concerned, it opened at 49, and it's a primetime spot, right? 57% of the bets, 83% of the cash on the under, and it's moved down to 46. So, interesting spot there. But the numbers that kind of jump off the page to me here is 52% of the bets and 92% of the cash. Everybody thinks the Kansas City Chiefs money line is the way to go. And what has it done? It's fallen 10 cents from the original opening spot. So very interesting to consider that as well. Now, there should be some elements in this game, right? They're talking about it being 10 to 15 mile an hour of wind and light rain precipitation that will pick up as we move forward through the game. So, it's not so much the precipitation that affects these guys when it comes to playing professional ball. They're used to playing that as they've grown up and played it their entire lives. It is the wind, though, that does become the factor, especially for games where you expect there to be a heavy dose of passing. Why do I think there's going to be a heavier dose of passing in this game? Because the Eagles have the best run defense in the NFL. So not homer stuff out there, just a fact. And if you look at the games that they've had here, 9 games, they've held 6 guys in those games under their 6 running backs in those games under their player prop totals. They've only fallen, I think, victim to 1 game of 100-plus rushing yards out there. So the run D is going to lock this thing down. That's going to force this game, in my opinion, to go to the air. And that is where Philadelphia is vulnerable. They allow 5th most receiving yards to wide receivers. So there is some vulnerability there. And their adjusted defensive value against tight ends is last in the NFL. So does that mean it's a big Travis Kelce day? I don't know. We'll see. I think at the end of the day, the Travis Kelce prop is minus 115 for a touchdown. It'd be a cold day in hell, and it would actually have to be frozen over before I jumped in and laid minus 115 on a touchdown prop. I don't even think I would put that in the same game parlay because there's just no return on the upside there, and they know Travis Kelce's out there. The Eagles aren't stupid. They're coming off the bye as much as Kansas City is as well. They know they got to come out there and square up against this guy. So, that being said, I do think it boasts opportunity for A.J. Brown. He had, 625-plus yard games in a row to set an Eagles record and an NFL record out there. Fastest guy in Eagles history to get to 1,000 yards on the season as well. And where does he excel? It's against man coverage, and we know Kansas City runs a ton of man coverage. Now, we can't dismiss the fact that Andy Reid is 4-0 against his former team, beating them up every chance they've gotten, including the Super Bowl last season. It's a big rematch spot, and I suspect and expect that the coaching chess match that Andy Reid plays certainly is going to be leaps and bounds over Nick Sirianni. But we want to talk about leading indicators as well, and I talked a little bit about this on Twitter. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you'll see some of these crazy things that I post that really aren't so crazy when you break them down. I'm trying to pull it up now as I'm talking to you guys. And at the end of the day, I labeled it the leading indicator factor here. Go back and, take the homer pick aside out of the equation here. Let's take a look at these numbers. Going through 42 starts in the season, the best quarterback coaching duo out there, well, maybe you've heard of them, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. What did they do through their first 42 starts of the season? They went 30-12, and that season, that franchise went on to kick everybody square in the face. Now, let's take a look over on the other side of the occasion. Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, 31-11. 30-12 for Brady and Belichick, 31-11 for Sirianni and Hurts. That's what I mean about the difference between, we know Patrick Mahomes is great, and we know that Andy Reid preps very well coming out of the bye, but those are things that have happened historically in the past. Time to get on the train and catch this fire with me here. I'm taking the Eagles +3 as my spot for this game. I think the 3, I'll probably get there on the money line as well, but I like the field goal in my pocket. And as far as a couple of chances that I wanted to take a look at for you guys here, we'll cover that in the prop shop here. I still got to get used to the new format and the new style here. So we'll keep it rolling here. But again, I locked down the Eagles +3. Admittedly, you guys know that's my team and my passion out there. So take that for what it's worth. We'll talk about some props though here as we move on later in the show that I think will be some interesting spots and some interesting angles to help you guys get paid there as well. So let's get rolling here. Let's move forward. We're going to talk about the NBA. Yeah, and I see you guys talking about Kansas City at home. Yeah, their first half at home is, I don't think they've lost a first half in 20 games or something like that. So no doubt they're killers at home. I know the first half of the season, they couldn't cover a spread at home in the first half, but we'll see how that looks here. No official plays for us in this Bucks game. I do have a prop on it, so we're going to cover that again later this show. So we'll make sure to come back and use that as a placeholder. I really try to keep it clean today. A lot of sports out there, a lot of games to get into. At the end of the day for this one, though, I did want to kind of read it off because I know a lot of folks are looking at this Milwaukee Bucks spot. So I did want to kind of just talk to you guys a little bit about what's happening in the market itself. The line opened at 8.5. And we're still seeing 8.5s, but 88% of the bets and 75% of the cash on the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks on the road have been a crazy over team as well. And that line opened at 242 to the over. It's 245.5 right now. 56% of the bets and 86% of the cash are on the over. This is a no play for me, as you can see in the graphic, but I did want to share with you guys just one of the trends that I was able to pop off here. The Bucks, 28-4 against the spread spot, specific to the Bucks. So the Bucks, this isn't an NBA-wide trend. This is a team-specific trend. You guys know I look at kind of three different buckets, right? What's happening in the league as a whole, what's happening to teams, and then what are individual players doing in some of these spots. And in this case here, the team, the Bucks, 28-4 against the spread. When they're a favorite, if their opponents got more rest and they lost to them against the spread the previous time out. So a little bit of a Revenga spot out there. And this spot here for the Bucks tonight is 28-4. They're 30-2 straight up. It's an 8.5 point spread, but it's a long road trip here. And I just don't know if I want to get involved in that tonight. But I wanted to share that number with you guys because I thought it was relevant as far as looking at these games and starting to break some of this stuff down. Again, I've got a prop. I like the prop that I've got there quite a bit. It's one of those spots that we look for. And we'll get to it when we get to the prop shop. But it's really one of those spots where we have the line for the prop, less than the guy's average, an even money spot out there. Absolutely got to rock and roll out there. Dan Kelly, due to extreme temperatures, I think I'm picking it up late. Swift's parents and Kelsey's parents are supposed to meet for the first time at Monday's game. Yeah, they are. And Taylor was reportedly planning on attending the game, but had to postpone her Euro tour because, somebody passed away, if I'm not mistaken, at her concert down there. So there is a real deal. That Kelsey factor, when she shows up to his games, is real. His numbers go up exponentially. I mean, 2-1, his yardage, his receptions, his touchdowns. I said before, I think that it's really got to do with Patrick Mahomes' wife out there. She wants Tay-Tay to come to those games, and Tay-Tay's coming to those games. She wants to see Travis Kelce perform. That puts Tay-Tay in a good mood. That means that we know she's not a fan or afraid to steal spotlight there in, Patrick Mahomes' wife. And certainly she'll put her hip to hip with Tay-Tay when it comes to celebrating and working on their cute little handshakes that they do in that press box. So, I think that's a big factor out there. And, that's my opinion on the situation. I certainly think it's a big Travis Kelce opportunity today, especially knowing what the Eagles do against those tight ends. But we already covered that. Let's keep it moving. Let's move forward here. Ron Laughlin says Poole over 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He likes the Joker triple double at plus 145 and Hayward over 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Londo, same game parlay. Harden over 7.5 assists. Kawhi over 5.5 rebounds. And the Clippers team total over 119.5. I'm glad he shared that for us because I don't think I have any action in that particular game. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We're going to talk about this next game on the docket, this Nuggets game, the Nuggets and Pistons. And I've got a strategy, not just for the pregame in this, but also a game as we look live and down the hop. So let's talk about the numbers. You guys know we'll start off here. -8 for the Nuggets. There's 8s out there now. We're starting to see them, but it did kind of get to a peak of 9.5. There still are some 9.5s if you're looking at that Piston side of things. 81% of the bets and 73% of the cash are on the Nuggets. The line is starting to come down. So it doesn't look like there's been any movement in it, but it is just because it did peak out at 9.5. So the total itself opened at 219.5. It's gone to 224.5. And there's even 225s out there. There's 43% of the bets and 75% of the cash expecting to see points in this game. And I can't disagree with that, but the couple of numbers and by the book here, how did I get to the first half? And I do like this full game. So I am going to add this now that it's at 8 for the full game. So, you see it, it's a lean, but I'm going to jump back in and I'm going to take this full game -8 as well. So it's a double dipper for me, an official double dipper. First half -4.5, full game -8. Away favorites when on a 5-game or greater losing streak are 18-0 against the spread if their opponent lost the last game they played against the spread. So you got a road favorite coming in on a losing streak against the spread means that number's kind of coming down. They're deflating. You're kind of buying low when the opponent hasn't covered the spread their last game. So kind of a spot where the books don't know what to do with the opponent, in this case, the Pistons. And, we're kind of buying low on Denver, who hasn't covered a spread in over 5 games. They're covering by a margin of almost 7.5 points a game in that thing. Oh, and on the other side of things, a single-digit home dog that's got no rest off a road loss of more than 4 points are 2-20 against the spread. And they're losing by almost 7 points a game, 6.61 points a game. I wanted to double dip this thing because at first the number got to 9.5. I thought that was a little too high. I wanted the 4.5. But now that there's 8s out there and it's a minus 110 spot for the 8, I'm going to jump in on that as well. So double dipper for me. Denver first half minus 4.5. Denver minus 8. I think it's a good bounce back spot here for Denver to finally cover a spread. And let's move forward. Let's get on to this next game. A lot of games to cover. I want to make sure we get into the hockey spots as well tonight with plenty of time for you guys to get to the windows. Game number 3 on the docket tonight we're looking at specifically is this Chicago Bulls Miami Heat game. The Heat traveling on the road to go up to Chicago. And look, this is another one of those factors here. Chicago being bad, yeah, that's a lagging indicator by this point here. We kind of all know that now. They had their players only meeting. They've really been falling apart. Now they've got Levine sought an approval to go out there and seek a trade. The line opened at plus 1.5 for the Bulls, and that's kind of where it sits right now. There are still there's some ones out there now for the Miami Heat, but we have 79% of the bets and 54% of the cash on the Heat. The total opened at 211. Now we see 210s and even 209s with 73% of the bets and 88% of the cash on the under. You guys have heard me say it before. I like when we're seeing the unders push. I think there's that correlation with the favorite. You know, shout out to some of the boys earlier today. I think it was Trot Lamb that talked about this one particularly. This first half spot for me, this is just by the book. This is by the margin here. You look at a team that's covering comfortably in the first half, a team that's not getting the job done in the first half, and a team that's fallen in shambles. I wish I had other stats other than just using the eye test here and saying, I went with the Miami Heat in the first half. I just took the money line. 10 cents of risk for me on this thing. Minus 120s are out there right now, rather than laying the minus a half and having a minus 110. So I want the push to be a factor for me. I don't know about the full game, though. I do think that this is a low number for a reason, and it seems suspiciously low to me. The fact that the Heat coming into this thing, what have the Heat done recently? Well, the Heat in the last couple of games, yeah, they just lost to the Bulls, but this is that second game of the back-to-back spot. So strictly kind of flip the coin. When you lose that first game, we see it's happened quite a bit of times in the NBA this season, particularly that team the next game comes back and cover. Just happened recently with the Pacers and the Sixers. Sixers kicked their ass that first game. Then they lost outright that second game when they were spotting them like 8 or 9 points, I think was the number. So I do like that Heat spot as a lean for me full game, but I think the Heat come out fired up, start this game early. I think that, the prior to that they beat Brooklyn, they beat Charlotte on the road, they beat the Spurs on the road, they beat Atlanta on the road. It's been an interesting road trip for the Heat, but I think they play better on the road. I think there's a lot of distractions down there in South Beach, and I took that Miami Heat spot. First half, money line, minus 120, still available today. That's going to be the number we lock down. So let's keep it rolling. Let's move on to the next game we're going to cover here, and we're going to look specifically at this Knicks and Timberwolves game. A lot of action going on here in the NBA, and the Timberwolves have been really kicking the hell out of everybody right now. The Timberwolves spot here, we got the line open at 3.5. It's down to 3s, and now there's 2.5s out there. So line shop this thing appropriately. 36% of the bets, but 55% of the cash on the Knicks. You've heard me say it before. Typically when you see that variance where there's a lesser amount of public betting on the Knicks, but a bigger number in the cash, that's going to suspect or support that sharper better or the bigger money bettors that can move those lines. Are we seeing the lines move? We are. We're seeing it move a point. But this game popped off as a 2-possession type of game, and I think that's the appropriate number out there right now. So, for me at this game particularly, I think that the Timberwolves front court should be able to lock down Mitchell Robinson. We haven't been seeing a ton of success out of, a lot of these Knicks up and down, other than the fact that, they're fighting a way to score points and stay in games. But there's a difference between the Knicks in the Garden and the Knicks on the road. And when you look at these Timberwolves, all they've done is win, so they beat the Spurs. They played the Warriors twice in Golden State on that back-to-back spot. They beat them up both times, outright both times. The first game, they were getting 3.5. They came out and they beat them by 6. So there was a comfortable victory there. They did lose to the Suns, but that, if you remember with that Suns game the other day, that was a spot in Phoenix where we had KD. We thought we were going to get the trifecta with Booker and Beal. But I believe it was Beal that sat out. And nonetheless, the Suns came out and got the job done. We were on that side, so that's okay. And then they went on the road and they beat the Pelicans. They beat them by 1. It was a tight game to get that victory. Coming back home here, I think it's time for some home cooking. And the Knicks are in this road trip. Now, the Knicks have beat the Hornets, the Wizards, and Atlanta. But I kind of look at the schedule. I know you can only play who's in front of you. I just don't think this is a good spot for the New York Knicks right now. The Timberwolves coming home. They're feisty. It's a team that's been scoring buckets, and we know what's happening with those boys out there. Cat and Ant. I mean, it's crazy, these guys' nicknames, but nonetheless, Anthony Edwards is having himself a hell of a season. That's potentially going to be an MVP caliber season. They're leading the Timberwolves to 9-3. And I think the New York Knicks are kind of playing above their expectations early here at 8-5. So for me, it's a little regression spot to come back and see the Timberwolves. I've got them on the money line. I got the -135. I'm not going to mess around with that bucket or two. It's a reasonable enough spot for me on the money line that I want to take advantage and move forward. There's also going to be a prop we'll talk about when we get to the prop shop. And let's roll on to the last NBA game I'm going to cover for you guys here. We're going to talk about this Rockets spot here. It's the Rockets and Golden State. And this is going to be really the first spot where on the show I've executed the strategy that I've been talking about out here. But the strategy for me is Klay Thompson parlayed with the Golden State money line. I don't want to take the 7 or the 8 in this case, but let's talk about the numbers and where they are exactly so that we can kind of hone in on this thing and evaluate why the strategy makes sense. At the end of the day, I just wanted to try to start to come up with plus money spots as opposed to these -110s. It's -110 season with the NBA, with the NFL, with college football as well. And if we can start to turn those into, even if they're just slightly profitable spots at +120, the ROI goes up. And that in turn is going to help us grow the bankroll, even if we have to weather a couple of L's. In this case here, the line opened up at 6.5. 75% of the bets and 73% of the cash are on the Rockets. It's moved to 7.5. So 6.5 opening, 7.5 number. And what are we looking for on the total? We see 221.5 drop down to 219.5 and even 218.5 out there. 47% of the bets and 84% of the cash on this under. And the line is showing some concern. They're showing a 3-point movement on the books. Now, part of that's going to be because of the Draymond factor. We know Draymond's out of this thing. But, at the end of the day, for me, I looked at it and said, you know what? I want to get involved with this thing. I want to get involved with this thing for 2 reasons. One, I think Klay Thompson, coming off that bad game, it's a great bounce back spot. He's done nothing but score double-digit 20-point-plus games against the Houston Rockets in his career. He's very comfortable and confident. They're at home. And you give me that Golden State money line, forget that 7.5 or 8-point spot there. It turns it into a +120 spot. So I know our guy Trot Ryan was talking about taking it up 25 points or more, and that was a +700 number. I can't be mad at that. I think that's a good look as well here. If you're going to go for it, you might as well try to maximize that return out there. Maybe it's just a half a unit spot. I guess you got to evaluate how it is that you want to play that. But I think in this case here, for me, Klay Thompson, over 15 plus points, not over 15.5, 15 plus, an important distinction in the same game parlay bucket, because that half a point could be the difference between cashing and not. Also, 4 teams that were up their previous half and then lost the game that are now road dogs. They're 5-12 against the spread. They're losing by almost 10 points a game. They're 2-15 straight up, losing by almost 16 points a game. So that just supports the fact that the Rockets lost that last game. Again, we talked about that, where they were up on the Lakers the entire game. And then the last 2 minutes of the game, they ended up shitting the bed and lost outright. Now we got the 7.5 with the Rockets, so that's okay. But we did sprinkle that money line and took that little L. So in this case here, they were up at halftime. They lost the game. They're a road dog. We got Golden State at home. It puts the Rockets in a 5-12 spread spot, a 2-15 money line spot. Give me that money line. Give me Klay Thompson, 15 plus points parlayed at +120 available on FanDuel. Let's keep rolling. Let's move on. We're going to get to the NHL. Plenty of time to get you guys off and on your way to get to the books here. Dan Kelly says, no way I take Klay over any points equals I see this as a really bad spot for Houston, but don't use Klay in the same game parlay. Hey, to each his own, Dan. I mean, that's why we're here. Throw them out there in the chat. Let's see what you got for that thing. I just didn't want to get involved with the points, and I'm going to take that plus money spot every day of the week. And especially without Draymond here, I think he needs to step up and have himself a game if Golden State's going to kind of get this win streak moving in the right direction. They certainly did not get off to the start that they wanted. But Nanya says, keep an eye on Marshall and Tarleton moving forward, too. They got wacky lines today. Yeah, I noticed those couple of college spots out there. Nunya's got a Nunya business 3-leg parlay for us, blessing the chat with a 3-leg parlay, my guy Nunya. Appreciate that here. We got Sam Houston on the money line. We have Southern Indiana +2.5. And then Texas A&M Commerce -7.5 versus Stonehill. I like that last game. Stonehill. I think last year was their first year. They made some noise last year, but welcome back to the bigs. Let's see how you drafted. Let's see how you recruited and how much depth you have on your team. So I like that probably. I like that look quite a bit, Nanya. Thanks for sharing. Dan Kelly says he's been playing the Clay unders and doing well. Yeah, I mean, hey, I just think it's an opportunity. It's a good spot for him with a team that he's comfortable with and a spot where he can get the job done. So let's keep it rolling. Wrist ain't breezy. Says, I believe New York gets a championship before Minnesota until this year. Look where Jalen Brunson starting his offense from. He got to be number one. Who's the best player in the court, says JPZ, Edwards or Brunson? I see you guys having a little side chat there. You know what happens here. I start reading bottom up, so I missed some of the chat for you guys. Jared Bush says Jalen Hurts over 37.5 rushing yards. That's an interesting spot. You got to account for the brotherly shove as a factor that's going to drive some of those rushing yards for him. He's not just getting 1 yard on those brotherly shoves either. He's getting himself 3, 4, 5. So we'll talk a little bit more about the look I have for Jalen Hurts when we move to that segment. But let's go on. Let's get to the NHL. First game we're going to cover here for you guys. I will say the NHL pulled some trickery. Almost every game that I capped for the NHL had a goaltending change to it. So interesting. But in this case here, I like the spots despite some of these goaltending changes. Originally, as I looked at this game for Boston and Tampa Bay last night, they were calling for Swayman to be the guy in the net. Well, they went to Ullmark, and I don't think there's any there is a little bit of a step down, his record and such, but 2.23 goals against average for Ullmark, 92.8% save percentage. On the other side of things, we have Johansson at 7-4-4, 3.4 goals against average, 89.6% saving. He's got 7 wins. What happened in the Tampa Bay lineup is Vasilevsky went down early. Johansson came in for the first couple of games and was able to get the job done. He was more than serviceable. He came out there and started off very strong to get them victories when they were struggling and needed somebody to be in between the pipes. But as time has lingered on, he's taken a lot of L's. They're mounting up quickly and heavily. That third category is overtime losses. So he's really 7-8, if you think about it out there. In a 15-game sample, he started off hot, and he's done nothing but bottom out since then. Big Boston spot for me here. Now, the story is Vasilevsky's closer to coming back, and it should be like within the next 7 to 10 days that they're saying Vasilevsky's coming back based on beat reports. I don't know if I trust all of that or not, but for me, the bottom line is this Boston spot. Teams that are road favorites after scoring more than one power play goal the previous game are 72-26. They've won 72 times. They've lost 26 on just about a 100-game sample, and they're winning by 1.22 points. So the goaltending change in this case gives us a more favorable number. Instead of having to get cute with -1s or regulation spots out there, the fact that we can take this thing now at -135, well, I see -139s. I'd still take it at -139. I wouldn't worry about that. I think in this case here, Boston's a strong team on the road. Tampa Bay does not have their best goaltender. Boston's one of my favorite hockey plays on the card tonight. Let's go on to this next game that we're going to talk about here. We're going to look at this Colorado-Nashville Predators spot, and we got Georgiev in net for Colorado at 10-4. We've got Saros in net for Nashville at a mind-blowing 4-9. They're at home, Nashville. They're 6-10 overall with this guy in net at 4-9. We've got Georgiev at a 3.01 goals against average. Now, he's having a tough start to his season, 89%. Saros, on the other hand, 3.22 goals against average, 89% as well. So we have essentially a coin flip matchup in goaltending, but I think the difference is going to be 2 things. One, Georgiev's in a bounce-back type of position. He's rebounding from his struggling, sluggish start to start the season, and Saros is kind of showing us who he is. Also, Colorado's offense is starting to find some success and some rhythm. And I think those are big factors as we kind of start to handicap and break this game down. When you look at it, at the end of the day, Colorado just came off a 6-3 win against Dallas. I know a lot of guys were asking me about Dallas. They like that -1. And I said, no, the numbers support Colorado and the over. I want to say that was on Saturday. Comfortably went over. Anaheim, they beat Anaheim 8-2. They beat Seattle 5-1. They're outscoring their opponents in their last 3 games by a considerable margin. They've got now 19 goals for to 6 goals against in their last 3 games. They're finding a way to put that puck in the net. On the other side of things, Nashville, they've allowed 3 or more goals in 4 of their last 5 games, and they're struggling. They just beat the Blackhawks, but they should beat the Blackhawks. Yeah, minus that Connor Bedard spot there with Chicago. they're not really, they got the number one draft pick, and it's not because they traded and made some magnificent moves in the offseason. It's because they stunk. Now, they did beat them, and they should have beat them. They were at home as well. But they lost to Anaheim. They lost to Arizona. They lost on the road to Winnipeg. They lost to Calgary. They're just not in a buy-on spot right now. Colorado's 3 wins in a row for Georgiev. He's now gone 58 of 64 shots on goal. It's a buy spot for me with Georgiev. Also, Colorado, when they're on the road and they're after a road win, 14-1 in those spots. So they've shown confidence. That goes back to 2021. So we have 2 years of data where they're on the road. They're coming off that road win, 14-1, 1.87 goals margin to their advantage. I did take this one on the regulation spot. You know, I'll probably get there as well on the money line. It's minus 155. So, you know, we're teetering over that ROI factor with the juice, but I think the regulation spot here, we've got a comfortable margin on a team that's moving forward, scoring goals, having success against a team that's just moving in the opposite direction. So give me the Colorado Avalanche regulation play, minus 105, and we'll move on to the next spot. Let's keep it rolling here. Dan Kelly says, Mike, I had to look this up. This season in 7 games at home, Klay Thompson, 31.5 field goal percentage, 28.3 3-point percentage. Interesting. I wonder how those numbers compare to what he plays Houston. Dan, I wonder if it's my feeling says that he's been doing well against Houston, but we'll see what that looks like here. Kelly V, there's our girl Kelly V, says Boston still hates Tampa Bay from those 2020 playoff loss. Boston and Marchand Point plus 106. I like that creativity. Tie a prop to a money line spot, make it a plus money opportunity. And Marchand's a guy for Boston that should get the job done. Trap God says Boston just keeps winning. Everyone thought they would regress. Yeah, right. They're actually playing better than in previous years. So anyhow, let's go. Let's move forward with this next game we're going to talk about here. We're going to look at this New York Rangers Dallas Star spot. We got Igor Shesterkin back. You know, he was injured. He was out, and he's back. And it's not just his first game back, because you guys know I like to try to fade players in those positions. On the flip side of things with Dallas, big change up here at the last minute. They went to Scotty Wedgwood. So Shesterkin 7-2, Wedgwood 3-1. You know, Wedgwood's not the confidence guy that they were looking for. Ottinger's their guy for Dallas, but Ottinger just got lit up like a Christmas tree. He had 3 goals on 5 shots in that Colorado game, and they had to yank him out, and they put Wedgwood in there to kind of manage that thing. They ended up getting blown out, though. It was 6-3 at the end, so it was not a good spot. Shesterkin, 2.43 goals against average, 91.2 save percentage. Wedgwood, 3.01 goals against average, 91.7 save percentage. And we got some cash coming in on Dallas, so there has been money movement on Dallas, but I don't understand why. In this case here, look, the New York Rangers are 10-0-1 in their last 11 games. They're just winning everything. So they should have been 11-0, but there was like a garbage goal that came in there that sent that game to overtime. So they're firing red hot right now. They've scored 4 goals or more in their last 5 games. Versus the New York Rangers going back to December 2022 against the West are 21-5. So teams are generally built to, you know, compete within their conferences and especially within their divisions. But in this case here, the Rangers just have a superior advantage against this Dallas Star spot. Couple that with the last-minute goaltending change, and now you got Shesterkin coming back from that lower body injury. What did he do in that lower body injury? He started out shaky. His first game back, yeah, it was a 5-3 win for Shesterkin, but they went down early. They ended up going down. I want to say it was 3-1 in that Devils game before he was able to come back, stay on top of his game. He made 30 saves in that game. They won it 5-3 with strong goaltending at the end. Even though there were a bunch of power plays in that third period and a barrage of shots, he still was able to come through. Give me the New York Rangers at plus money here, plus 115. I think they've got the goaltending advantage. Their offense has picked up pace, just like we talked about with them, Boston Bruins, and the Colorado Rockies, the Colorado Avalanche as well. Teams that are finding a way to fire pucks on net and get the job done, finding the back of that net. So New York Rangers for me, plus 115 spot. Guys, appreciate everybody being out here. I see our guy Wine Time in there. Philly Eagle Flyer, what up, my guy? Stars, full game draw, sprinkles, Rangers, money line. Yeah, there's a lot of overtimes from that Dallas team last year. They led the league in overtimes. But, guys, if you haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up button for me down there. Help us get this thing recognized and like this video that we put out for you guys every day, Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. All I ask you to do is 3 things. 1, hit the like button. 2, grab a pen and paper. 3, drop your picks in the chat so we can talk about them aloud with the group here. And JPZ says he likes the under 6 in that Stars Rangers game. I can't be mad at that either, JPZ. I think Wedgwood's, he's more than serviceable, and Shesterkin's the go-to guy. So, the question's going to be what happens in the first couple of shots with Wedgwood. If he gets beaten up 2-0, 3-0 off the hop, it's going to be a tough day for Dallas in that under. But let's go on to this next game. Next game I want to talk to you guys about here is the LA Kings Arizona Coyotes game. I talked to you about this on the intro as we recapped a couple of spots from last Friday. We have a big trend in play today and some sorcery, some fuckery when it comes to the line changes here. The LA Kings versus the Arizona Coyotes here. And we got Copley in net at 1-0-2 for the LA Kings. Originally, it was Talbot. Now it's Copley. On the other side of things, originally we did not have Ingram in goal. Now we have Ingram in goal for Arizona. So full switcheroo, but we'll talk a little bit about why I don't know that makes as much of a difference. Now, Copley, 1-0-2 with a 4.57 goals against average, a measly 79.2% save percentage. Ingram on the other side, 6-1. I think Arizona's got 9 wins on the season. Ingram's got 6 of them, so he's clearly their guy. 2.75 goals against average, 91.8% save percentage. What I think happened here is Arizona saw that they weren't starting their top guy there in Talbot, that they decided to go to Copley. And I think Arizona flipped the switch and said, well, we're going to go to Ingram then because we think we have a shot to win this game, which I don't think they do here. The team that we talked about and one of the spots that we've been tracking, this is an important trend that we're going to continue to monitor throughout the season. When you're at home and you're a dog and you're playing the Blues at home the next game, it is now 0-29. We've talked about it 4 times in a row on this show. 0-29 now. We've cashed on it every single time. When they're winning by 2.4 goals a game. The thing about Copley is he's had 4 starts on the season. As I broke it down, 2 of them are against Arizona. So the Kings kind of looked at it and said, screw it. Arizona's not as good as everyone maybe thought they were. And we're going to go out there. We're going to give our guy a rest against a game that we know Copley's capable of winning. His first game, he had 24 saves on 27 shots against Arizona. Then he got lit up. He had 3 goals in on 6 shots that next game against Arizona. So they had to go back to Talbot to come in the net there. But I think this is a good spot for Copley to get right. He's got the confidence against Arizona. It's a play that he should be able to get the job done. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game by seeing Arizona with that Ingram in goal out there. But the big thing for Arizona, no Barrett Hayton. That's their top line center. He's a power play guy. He eats up a ton of minutes. Clearly the best guy they have out there to win faceoffs. If you can't win faceoffs, you're going to have a tough time controlling possession with the top guys out there. You got the LA Kings, who haven't lost a game on the road yet this season. Have not lost a game on the road this season. And now I'm seeing minus 140s out there. So I love that minus 140. We're going to knock another nickel off the juice there. Originally this morning on the sesh, I gave that out as a regulation play because it was up around minus 165. That goaltending change worked out to our advantage in this case here. We've got, again, when you're a home dog and you got the Blues coming to your stadium the next game, they're 0-29. I don't know what it is about the Blues. I don't know if it's just like, hey, we got the Blues on deck, so it's tough to get motivated for that spot. It's not necessarily a look ahead, but maybe you're just not bringing your A game. I don't know. I don't know if it's just rest. I'm not sure what the problem is there, but it's clearly a problem when St. Louis Blues are coming into town that next game and you're a home dog. And the last game I'm going to talk about for you guys here is the San Jose-Vancouver spot. Just a lean for me in this game here. I try to give you guys what I thought were the best plays out there. This one kind of has my head scratching because I could really see it going. Shit, Jared. I don't like to see that. Wisconsin beating up on Virginia. Nah, it's not what we want to see. I may have gone a little heavier than I should have on that game. Anyhow, Kaapo Kähkönen in net for San Jose at 1-5. Thatcher Demko, Margaret Thatcher Demko in goal at 8-4 for the Canucks. Kähkönen at 3.85 goals against average, 89.6 save percentage. Demko 2.22 goals against average, 92.6% save percentage. And I wrote this down, and you guys know I don't talk a lot about the cash flow when it comes to hockey, but it was 92% of the bets on Vancouver, but only 1% of the cash. So it makes me laugh because that number is minus 330. And that's exactly why I don't talk about the splits, because no one's laying a minus 330. You can just question, arguably, and I tracked this at the start of last season, if you faded every team that was over minus 300, you were profitable just by the sheer nature that no team should be that big a price at minus 360. Now, does that mean that San Jose is live in this game? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, in my opinion, Vancouver just played them. They just kicked the ever-loving shit out of them. They beat them up 10-1. That was that was one of the highest scoring games that I've seen in the recent years that I can consider. Also, San Jose's offense is the worst in the NHL. 1.53 goals for on average. And Demko, 38 or more saves in 3 of the last 4 starts to go out there at a 92.9% save percentage. I kind of looked at this thing and how did I get to that under? I said, frankly, I don't think San Jose scores. It is a revenge spot for him after getting beaten down 10-1. I don't think Vancouver comes in and smokes him 10-1 again. That's just a disrespect thing. I think Demko can hold down a poor San Jose's offense. I think San Jose is going to try to play a little bit more defense and not let that thing get so completely out of control. And we got 77% of the bets and 40% of the cash on the over. So some sharper money likes that under as well. I see the under out there at 6.5 right now at -110. Best number we can get out there. Just a lean for me for now. I was that close to pulling the trigger and saying, let's do it. But the fact that they did just beat them 10-1 shows me that there's just a clear mismatch in these two teams. And I don't want to get involved with that. So just a lean. I really want to pull the trigger on it. I'll probably pull it later tonight. It's a 10 p.m. start for us. So we'll see how that goes. But last game I want to talk to you guys about here. I want to look at this college basketball spot. I've got one look for you guys on the card tonight in college basketball. It's an official play for me tonight. And I went down to this Marquette spot. So I'm looking at Marquette UCLA. I believe that's an 11:30 start. Don't hold me to it. 11:30 Eastern start. And the way I was looking at this game here is I think that, first of all, I expect to see fireworks. Both these teams like to run fast-paced games. Questionable defense that they play out there. But if I looked at the numbers, let's take a look here. Let me scroll down to it. Lots of college games to get to. Let's get there. We are. The line opened at 4.5. We got 6s now, 79% of the bets, but 53% of the cash on Marquette. So, a little bit of a coin flip when it comes to the total as far as the cash, or I'm sorry, the side as far as the cash. But now let's look at the total. It opened at 138.5. Oh, geez, it's up to 141.5 right now. 78% of the bets, 78% of the cash agree that they think this thing's going to go over. Let me see what the best number is right now here. Yeah, still 141.5. I'm still going to take it. I think these teams are fast-paced teams. I like Marquette as well as far as a lean to a side here, but I think that Marquette's going to be the team that pushes the pace. Yeah, we know they're both 3-0. I got it. But Mick Cronin's loading in a ton of new freshmen. He had a lot of transfers out last season. He's got international players that are still trying to figure the game out. And I think it's a buy low spot on this total. Marquette push pace. They went out there and they whooped up on Northern Illinois. They whooped up on Rider, and those games went way over. Then they play an Illinois team with a total at 149, and it goes under. So, we just had some numbers get softened up with those overs by having that under. On the flip side of things with UCLA, they haven't played anybody yet. They played St. Francis, PA, Lafayette, Long Island Sharks, and all 3 of those games went under. So, I think in this spot here, because we have Marquette coming off a recent under, we have UCLA that's showing that their games are consistently under. Marquette should control this game. They should keep the pace. We're seeing the cash pushing that over, and I think that makes sense. So the play for me will take it Marquette over 141.5 is the official play, college basketball. If you want to look at the players themselves, UCLA, just not a shooting team, right? We see that with their numbers. We see that Marquette's got no problem sitting in the paint trying to go out there and pick up rebounds. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the country right now. And, I think from a side perspective and what pushes pace is Tyler Kolek is the point guard for Marquette. He's the star guy that's out there on that squad at point guard. He kind of pushes that offense. He was battling an ankle issue that last game, and I think that contributed to this under. They beat up, Illinois pretty handily. Even though he had an ankle injury, he still recorded 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Now he's had some time to go through treatment and get that thing rehabbed and right. I think Marquette's going to whoop up on UCLA, but moreover, I like the points. I think this guy was sore and found a way to, not quite get what he's used to from a total points perspective and leading that entire offense. They were just happy to get the job done and see him get through that game. Now they're ready to come back. I think they go out there, they put a blasting on this team, and I think 141.5 is not comfortable. That's not where we need. We could see probably 151, 152 in that game, and that's how I'm going to close it out. So Lucas R says he loves that over. I appreciate that, Lucas R. Trap God. Going to take Virginia plus 6.5 live. They should make it close. I don't even want to see what that score is there. I'm a little nervous about that, but let's see what's going on here. Here we go. Let's pop open the prop shop. Let's talk a little bit about some of these props for you guys tonight, and a couple of leans and a couple of official looks. So we'll start with the NFL. Top left side there, Jerick McKinnon over 4.5 rushing yards. My angle for this Philadelphia game, I talked about it at the top of the show. For anybody that missed it, go back and catch the replay. Plenty of time. But when it comes down to this spot here, chess match. Both coaches have had the bye week to get ready. We know that Pacheco is going to be the guy out there for Kansas City. And we know that, I talked about this early, 6 of the 9 top running backs that the Eagles played this season got shut down on that running game. They went miserably under their totals for rushing yards. I don't like Pacheco's rushing yards today. I like that under because of how that Eagles defense is so stout. That being said, though, McKinnon at 4.5 rushing yards, we know he's more of the passing back, but doesn't that seem Andy Reid-esque to go out there, play that chess match? You're expecting McKinnon to be the guy that catches that ball in the flat. Maybe it's a second and short distance, and they're spelling Pacheco because he's not having success. And what do? They hand it off to Jerick McKinnon. He busts up the middle for 7 or 8 yards, and then they put Pacheco back in there, and he cashes that prop for us. So the vulnerability there is, getting stopped in the backfield. But I think in this case, because of how I expect them to use McKinnon and the sorcery that is Andy Reid coming off that bye week, I think it's a big factor. I do think he's a big look for a touchdown tonight as well. But 4.5 yards, I mean, the quarterback props are way higher than that on just about every team across the NFL this season. So I went with the over 4.5 as a lean. And then who did I look for? I looked for this guy named, I can't even say his last name, but he is an Eagles wide receiver. And the end of the day for me, this is, again, one of those sorcery type of factors. Here's the deal with the Eagles, right? We saw that Goddard, cheap shot takedown. That guy was absolutely trying to injure. He had malicious intent as he pulled down Goddard in that last game against the Cowboys. That shows you that they're weak of character. That shows you they're weak of heart. And that shows you that they were scared. And they ended up hurting Goddard out there. But in this case here, I went with Zacchaeus, I think is how you say it. Zacchaeus is a wide receiver down the rotation. Now, what happens is the third most targets in the offense for the NFL, for the Eagles, is Dallas Goedert. But with Dallas Goedert being out now, more options across that offense. And what happened that we've seen in the last 2 games with the Eagles, big games for them, they've been targeting Zacchaeus there. 2 targets against Dallas, 2 targets against Washington. But what's big against Dallas is those 2 targets came in after Goddard went down, and one of them was a third down opportunity to push that chain and move it forward. So 9 games played. He's only got 12 targets, but he does have a touchdown, and he got 7 of those targets on the road. So if you're Kansas City and you're Andy Reid, you know damn well you got to shut down A.J. Brown. The guy's a 125-plus yard machine. You can't let him get the job done out there. Secondarily, Devontae Smith, clearly a vulnerability or a risk factor. You got to shut him down. There's no Goddard to contend with for stealing grabs. A touchdown look at plus 950 for Zacchaeus is just too good not to take advantage of. You heard me say I'm not going to take a minus 115. I'll lose on a plus 950 before I catch it on minus 115. That's a fact. And hold me to it and keep me accountable on the show. Also, I like the the Jalen Hurts over 8.5 rushing attempts. Why do I like that spot? I just talked about the brotherly shove. They're probably going to have, let's just say they have 2, maybe 3 brotherly shoves in this game, right? That means we only need 5.5 more rushing attempts. Well, we just talked about Goddard being down and out. So now let's say Jalen Hurts, instead of trying to throw a 4-yard pass, says, screw it, I'm just going to pull it down and run it myself. Maybe he does that 2 times. That's a 5 spot. And we know that he likes to use his legs and get out there for 2 or 3 more spots. That's at 8 just for easy, simple back of the napkin math. I think that because Goddard's out, I think the game plan is keep this game moving on the ground, especially with that wind and precipitation element for me. Over 8.5 rush attempts made a lot of sense on this game for Jalen Hurts. Again, all leans for me in this game. I'm sure I'm going to get there to the window at some extent. But the last one I wanted to talk to you guys about goes back to that Bucks and Wizards game. I love this spot for Daniel Gafford. This is my favorite prop of the night. Over 6.5 rebounds out there. And why? This is that average spot that I talked to you guys about before. When I find a spot where we've got a player that's under his league average and it's an even money spot, or in this case, minus 105, My marginal numbers to play for a guy that's gotten this in every single game that he's gone at least 20 minutes in the season. Furthermore, he's the guy, he's that centerpiece that the Wizards, who are in a rebuild, I think are building their team around. He gets a ton of minutes. He logs a ton of time. And, he's the guy they need out there as they try to rebound and move forward. His defensive rebounds, he's averaging 7.2 on the season. We know what Giannis does out there for the Bucks in terms of playing offense and defense and getting the rebounds as well. But the Bucks do allow 53.1 rebounds a game, which is 11th in the association. So the guy that would potentially be matching up against Gafford is going to be Brook Lopez. And as good a center as he is, he's not a paint guy. He doesn't like to get in there and get dirty. So I think that opens up Gafford. I don't think we get it off in that first half, but I do think over the stretch of the game there, Gafford is an official prop play for me. My favorite prop on the card tonight. I got him at -105, over 6.5 rebounds. That's going to do it for the show for us, you guys. I appreciate everybody hanging out. We're at that 7 o'clock mark. It's time to finalize the cards and get to the windows. I'll give it a rundown one last time. Again, guys, do me the favor. Look down. If you haven't hit that like button yet, please do so for us. Helps T and I out a lot. We want to promote the show, continue to grow. We're putting money in your pockets. All we need you guys to do is hit that like button and get to the window with us. So the first official play, I'm on that Eagles +3 spot here. Do they win the game? I sure hope so. But I like the 3 points in my back pocket. I feel like that number and the line movement has been the same as that Minnesota game last night, and we cashed on that Minnesota +3. Gafford over 6.5 rebounds at -105. I changed it up and double dipped. I went Denver first half -4.5. I went Denver -8. I've got the Heat first half money line at -120. The Pelicanos, Pelican fly at +1.5. New Orleans Pelicans +1.5. The Minnesota Timberwolves monsters at home -135. And then I parlayed up Golden State money line, despite my guy Dan telling me not to. Dan, I hate to go against you. And I don't think I'm against you. I just think we're on different pages here. But Klay Thompson, the second leg, Golden State money line, Klay 15+ points, +120 spot. Love the Bruins tonight. I think that's a great opportunity. Colorado Avalanche in regulation, the New York Rangers money line, and the LA Kings. I can't say which one of those I like the most. I'm just going to hammer them all 4 of them. And then college basketball is going to bring us home. I got that Marquette over 141.5. And fuck it, an official lean for the show here. I'm going to go with that Marquette -5.5 out there as well. So appreciate everybody dropping in tonight. It's Monday. It's a new week. It's a holiday week. We got 2 more shows this week, and then there's going to be live streaming. Don't forget to go out there. Friday, they made the announcement, 8 p.m. Eastern, poker tournament with Pub Sports Radio over there at BetOnline. That should be a lot of fun. And we've got the 3 p.m. stream leading us into that as well. So you're going to hear with that 3 p.m. stream, ton of plays that I'm on for the day. Bring some guests on to talk about their plays as well. And then we're going to follow that up with a nice little poker play out there. We got tons of stuff happening content-wise with Pub Sports this week. So if you guys haven't done so already, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when we go live, and please become members. We had quite a few new members join us just yesterday as well. So excited about the opportunity to continue to grow. It's Friday at 8 p.m. Paco Healy, Bet Online, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Bet Online poker tournament with Pub Sports Radio. You guys know those are a ton of fun, and we'll have some fun there this Friday as well. So going to be a great week, guys. Let's go out there and get that cash. Yeah, JPZ, I bought that up, that +3 up. It was a -125 spot to buy it up at 3. I wanted that extra half a point in my pocket. So let's go out there. Let's get that cash this week, you guys. Let's get that cash today. Appreciate everybody that showed up here. Paco Healy, Jared Bush, Ron Lofton, Dan Kelly, my guy. Let's go. Londo, 66 Slammy. The crew is out and representing. Kelly D, Loopy, the squad, Philly Eagle, Flyer, Swizz, Trap God. Appreciate everybody dropping in here tonight. I want to thank everybody. Let's get going. Let's get back to the window. Let's get back and see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Last call, 6 p.m. Eastern. Now get out there and check out the boys. I'll see everybody at 7:30. Jimmy's got the Monday stream tonight. Eagles, Kansas City. It's going to be a lot of fun to hear everybody's breakdowns. Appreciate everybody. I'll see everybody on Tuesday. Let's go, baby. Get that cash.